Okay, so we're going to start with our Young Sister on the Rise Award. So our Young Sister on the Rise is an important way for us to help those who help themselves. Education is expensive, and so we give unrestricted scholarship funds to those who need it most to encourage their educational pursuits. The 2019 Young Sister on the Rise Scholarship goes to Anastasia Yasmin Apat, a first-year student at Kane University in New Jersey. Please welcome onto the stage Anastasia Yasmin Apat. Woo! No, that's a score. Oh, okay. Woo! You got this. Take your time. Take your time.
All right now.
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah. So we
That's
got
right.
to take pictures.
Take a
so
picture
can you
first?
come over
That
there?
works, yes.
Yeah.
Should I hold it? Oh, I
Yeah,
guess
you don't
should
have to.
lift it.
It's okay. It's great. Or I can just do it out too. And here you go. Look, that's your
This one?
scholarship money.
Okay.
Need that.
Thank you. All right, I just want to first say thank you for just giving acknowledgement to my story and helping me be more empowered by my own journey. And I'm here to share with you guys my essay that I wrote for Sisterhood Agenda. So, I was born on November 23rd, 1990 to Willamette Moore. My mother had lost my older sister to typhus, Division of Youth and Children's Services, so my mother knew that she couldn't keep my brother and I. So she decided to give us up for adoption. I was adopted at 3 months old, and my adoptive parents were Caucasian, so that created an identity struggle for me. Sorry, I'm so nervous right now, but we'll get through this. My adoptive parents were Caucasian, and it created an identity struggle. So my adopted sister was adopted straight out of the hospital at 3 days old. I had a pretty good childhood. I was a tomboy, and my father was my best friend. My sister and I were polar opposites, but in not just what we liked, but in how we behaved. She always had this confidence and security. For example, when friends would come over, I would get really upset when my parents would share my food. You could sit my sister in her room and never hear from her again. Myself, on the other hand, needed to be the center of attention. I had to know daily and repeatedly that you loved and cared for me. It's in a child's initial months where they are searching for a bond that gives them safety and security that they need to grow. And unfortunately, my foundation was robbed of that. And it was the foundation to my struggle. When I was 8 years old, my parents got divorced, and my father, my best friend, moved to Virginia. I had struggled with behavior issues since I was 5 years old. I was placed on medication for ADHD at that point. After I lost my father, I dove into sports, and it became my safe place. This is when and where all my troubles went away. My father didn't take the impact of the divorce well, and he turned into a violent alcoholic, which caused him to send me home with bruises all over my body. My mother contacted the authorities, and he lost all visitation rights. I was only 9 years old, and at this point I didn't understand why everyone left. Was I bad? Was I damaged? From this point on, I had numerous relationship issues, behavioral problems, and my fear of abandonment became a way of life for me, and things just continued to get worse. At 14 years old, I was gang raped by 5 older boys in my high school. They took my virginity, my safety. The assault was videotaped and used to threaten me into silence. This is where my addiction began. I started using heroin and cocaine. Anger was my regular state of being. As things continued to get worse, my mom, not knowing what happened, frantically tried to get me help. Later that year, I was sent away to a treatment center. This decision was meant to help me, but since everything was linked back to the rape, at this point, the help felt more like a punishment. It created a guilty feeling. Being so young and my interpretation that the rape was my fault, even after 9 months of therapy, I never told a soul. I didn't tell my stories till 5 years later when I was 19 in the treatment center for drugs and alcohol in Florida. The rape occurred at 14, but I went to high school with the perpetrators for the next 4 years of my life. I have battled mental illness and substance abuse. My diagnoses consist of ADHD, bipolar disorder, and borderline personality disorder. I have also battled with self-esteem and self-concept. On June 6, 2017, due to an overdose, I had 5 mini strokes at the same time, leaving me unable to walk or use my left hand. My childhood dream was to become a professional athlete, and after 2 years of working and restoring my physical ability, I understand that due to the severity of my accident, it will take a while before I can get back to where I used to be. This accident was the biggest blessing of my life. I'm clean for 2 years now, and I've begun the process of recovery for mind, body, and spirit. My challenges have brought me to a destined career and passion. I have obtained an associate's degree in psychology, and in the fall, which I am now, I'm in Keene University, where I'm pursuing a bachelor's in psychology and in social work. Although I can't play sports anymore, I can incorporate them into my career, and I want to be a sports psychologist. Another dream that I have is to open up a nonprofit for interracial adoptees and foster care children so they have a place to learn about their roots. This process has been hard, but I know putting myself back together is possible. And one day I hope I can be the example and hope for someone else struggling. Lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. Thank you. I just want to leave you guys with a quote from one of my favorite authors, Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the 4 Agreements. He says, most people think that the struggle is between good and evil, but the real struggle lies between truth and lies. And thank you so much to Sisterhood and to all who is here.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And she can help us go to you.
Okay, thank you.
Here's your scholarships. Oh, yeah, you can hold it.
Yeah, okay.
She got it. Let's give one more round of applause for Anastasia. Truly, she deserves that scholarship.